Hey, Chris,
Hey, Dan.
can we talk? We are here to talk about the Tallbird Plus, this beautiful new tube powered spring reverb and optical tremolo, and to kind of explore how it came to be. Why does it exist? Why are we here? And some of the different sounds you can get out of it. So, can you give us a super brief history of spring reverb? And what are some of the kind of inherent issues with that device that you set out to fix with this?
Sure. Yeah. Man, I should have done some research maybe. But off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they were developed for Hammond organs to add kind of a hall reverb effect to the organ sound. And I think that was one of the approved organ effects as opposed to the Leslie rotating speaker, which kind of bummed John Hammond.
Really?
I don't know. Let's call him John Hammond.
Okay.
John Hammond out. I think he's from Jurassic Park.
Obviously, that's where my brain went.
Yep. So yeah, they developed them for the Hammond, and then guitar amp people wanted to put reverb in amps, so they started using them. And so it's basically just like it looks like a metal box, and it's got springs inside, and one side gets shaken by a transducer.
Mhm.
They call it a lot, literally like a kind of a motor kind of thing. And then the other side gets is the pickup and picks up the sound. So relatively simple device, but the difficult thing about it is kind of all the electronic circuitry around it and making it work
Yeah.
with whatever you're putting reverb in.
And they are kind of inherently noisy, finicky.
Yeah. Yeah, the technology hasn't changed much. I really wish someone made a humbucking version of it, but
That's an interesting
no,
idea.
no one has.
Yeah.
They pick up a lot of stuff out of the air, and especially, if they're close to like a power transformer in a guitar amp.
Yeah.
So,
And so this is the latest evolution. Actually, behind you is the first Tallbird.
yeah, serial number 1
Yes.
belongs to a guy named Dan Phelps.
And what has changed since then until now?
So that was kind of like a ground up original design, based on what I kind of liked at the time, which was cap coupled, small tank, kind of more of a hall effect than like a real spring sound. I wanted to drive the tank really inefficiently so it didn't like spring or boing or splish or splash or whatever they call it.
Right.
So just kind of had a beautiful attack and decay. Yeah. And then the difference between that and this is, I mean, they're completely different. This is a transformer coupled 2-spring long tank reverb, and it's much more like, the splashy Fender stuff or similar, and it's meant to get that kind of like drip and splash. And I don't know, my taste has kind of changed over the years, and I kind of saw that style reverb as something I wanted to learn how to do really well. And then I hate putting tremolo in guitar amps just because you always have to like make a bunch of adjustments that aren't necessarily very good to the circuit.
Right.
It's always a compromise, it seems. So whenever someone has me try to put tremolo in an amp, it's terrible.
It's a bummer.
It just doesn't go well because it just like wastes a week of my life. I'm just sitting there trying to get it perfect. And I'm really picky about tremolo. I love the effect. So I wanted to make a tremolo in this that I can just kind of point people to and be like, here's my tremolo. You can literally stop asking me to put tremolo in the combo amp now.
I see. Well, can we hear maybe some of the range of reverb sounds that are going on in this, and then we'll talk about the tremolo a little bit more.
Yep.
It's got more control than the average spring reverb.
Yeah, I wanted it to have wet and dry because the blend knobs always seems to be a compromise because, what if you want to boost the volume as well?
Yeah.
It's always kind of like trying to figure out how people are going to use it. Instead of that, I just put 2 separate wet dry controls on it.
Mhm.
And then the dwell is how hard you hit the tank. And then I put a size knob on it too, which is literally just a high pass filter for the reverb itself, to kind of go between really tight splashy sounds and the deep kind of cavernous things that
Cool.
that I like sometimes. So yeah, here's kind of like just a regular kind of hi-fi setting. So the wet's turned up quite a bit, dwell's kind of down, and the size is dialed back. So I'll bring up the size so you can kind of hear that. So that sounds like you're in a much bigger room.
Yeah, it has way more like low mid resonance to it almost.
Yep. And then the other reverb trick you can do is crank the dwell and turn the wet down, and that instead of hi-fi, it's more like distorted, which almost all the demo people did because it's really fun.
Right.
So not too many people did the hi-fi thing.
Gotcha. It's capable of hi-fi.
All right, so here's some gnarly. So it doesn't get too nuts with the Jazz Master, but with like a humbuckers or something, it'll sound like a distortion pedal.
It's gnarly though. Another thing about the dry control is that you can push whatever's coming after the reverb, but it's not just a clean boost. There's like a lot of components that you're going through.
Yeah, so it's not just a clean boost. You're right. I actually wanted it to have its own dirt character at the very top of the dial, which I kind of describe as like console kind of distortion almost. It just sounds like a raw, clean overdrive. So I could show that off really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I like it. It kind of to me, it sounds like you're overdriving like a black panel Fender or something like that. Just kind of a wide open frequency thing. So
awesome. Are there any other tricks with the reverb or?
I mean, you could turn the dry all the way down and use it for mixing records, but probably not going to show that right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Have to get my recording console out or something.
Do we want to hear with a different guitar at all before we move on to Tremolo World?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Guitar change.
Jump cut.
Jump cut. All right.
now we're into that tremolo zone. So
Oh yeah,
let's take a ride to Tremolo Land.
I couldn't wait.
All right. So there's two different modes of tremolo: the sort of classic volume tremolo, and then something that may be exclusive to the Tallbird in today's age, which is optical
sorta.
harmonic tremolo
Yeah,
powered by a tube.
I think it's a novel way to do the harmonic tremolo.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't seen every schematic in the world, but I like to think I'm special. So yeah, it has like the big Fender amp, regular optical tremolo, and then it has the harmonic tremolo,
Right.
which is where the bass and treble are kind of turning off, like out of phase from each other, so it kind of creates a vibrato effect.
Gotcha.
So
does that require an optical tremolo works with photocells?
Yep.
Right. Talk to me like I'm 10.
okay, there's light bulb in the Tallbird Plus.
Yep.
That pulses. It's got a tube that's kind of turning it on and off called an oscillator.
Mhm.
And then there's two photocells, one on each side of that flashing light bulb that we kind of move around until it sounds right.
Mm.
And one of those controls the treble and the other controls the bass frequencies. And then in regular mode, one of them's controlling all of them.
I see.
So I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And it's in like this weird little, like, we call it the bird cage. It's like this box made out of PCB boards.
Okay. Yeah.
That kind of enclose it, so you can't, the light here doesn't like shine into
Gotcha.
the photocells and ruin everything.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about things like Fender amps classically have that sort of ticking sound that creeps in?
Yeah.
Tremolos.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opinions on this. I think it's from just static electricity firing from the neon bulb into the LDR. And I did this like wild thing with the Surf's Up, the one before this, where we actually put like clear electrostatic material between the bulb
okay.
and the LDR in order to stop that from, and that actually worked pretty well. But this is a ground up redesign of like that sound. And what I wanted to do is try to get as much noise out of it as possible. And what I realized is it just, what actually matters is the volume of the signal going through the tremolo stage.
Okay.
So Fender, I think the reason they tick is they don't have that much volume going through that stage.
Oh.
It's in kind of after a bunch of lossy stuff in the Fender amp. With this, like, you have the signal out by the power rails, so it's a much bigger signal. That ticking doesn't get any louder, so in proportion, that ticking's way quieter.
I see.
And then it gets knocked down in volume later in the circuit to go into the next amp or whatever. But
that's cool.
I don't think these really tick.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because of the amplitude stuff that we fixed.
That's cool. Let's hear some tremolo sounds.
Cool. Okay, so here's just a standard.
That's glacial.
I'm a sucker for really slow tremolo.
Yeah.
Even especially when you turn the depth down a little bit and
Yeah.
you can't really tell what's going on. Like this.
Yeah, it's just like a really subtle texture in there.
Yep, I love it. And so we got that with like what's called a 3-pole oscillator. Well, that's what I call it. It's basically like, instead of controlling one leg of the oscillator, we're actually using a triple gang pot that we had custom made to control all three.
Oh, wow.
So it just really broadens the range of the tremolo speed.
How fast does it go?
So there's a disclaimer. Optical tremolo, the bulbs and the LDRs kind of take a second to do their thing.
Yeah.
I think more the LDRs than the bulbs. Like, they don't react right away.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get up to very fast speeds, you lose some of the effect, but it's still cool. So you see how it doesn't go away all the way?
Right.
That's the same reason optical compressors sound kind of like slow and
I see.
vibey. Yeah.
They may have harmonic tremolo up in there.
Yeah, for this one, the depth, there's a little less range on the depth, but I mean, if you're using harmonic tremolo, you want it to be pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just keep that depth cranked.
It's beautiful. It has almost a univibe sort of.
Funny story, when I was designing this, I tried all sorts of different ways to do it. It took such a long time. And at one point, I was really hopped up on this concept of putting the two sides out of phase and then losing one of the sides, and that would create the harmonic tremolo, and also create a little bit of a phase shift. And I did it, and it sounded excellent. And then I started looking into some of the ways people have gotten modulation, and realized that I'd essentially invented a tube univibe. And so I didn't do that, because people have actually made tube univibes, and it was like, that's fine. They're probably great.
Yeah. Very cool. Maybe we should just hear, is there anything else about this we haven't covered that you think we need to know or explore?
There's a switch on the back that I should probably talk about.
Yeah.
It's the hi-fi and natural switch. And what I realized is, so this thing has a buffered output, like a tube just driving the line, and tubes do a really excellent job of driving lines like that. And what I found was it does almost too good a job, and makes things to sound brighter than they normally would be.
I see.
And so I put a little switch on the back, and I don't think, depending on your rig, you might not even hear a difference, but it's got two settings. It's got hi-fi and natural, and the hi-fi setting is just wide open, haven't really messed with the tone at all, but it sounds brighter because of all the buffers and everything.
Okay.
And then the natural setting has a little bit of a roll-off in the front end that might make a difference. I tend to play it in the natural setting because I like it to be rolled off a little bit. I like it to sound like it's like I'm going into my amp.
Right.
So
okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it on the natural setting right now?
Yes.
Okay.
You're definitely not going to be able to hear it in a video.
Okay.
You might hear it at 120 decibels in
I see.
the comfort of your own home.
Right.
So,
Like I do in the living room every day.
yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
I wonder if we should like plug in a Strat just to hear one other
Oh, sure.
vibe and kind of just play through some of the different sounds and play ourselves out.
Yeah. So, this is a 70s Strat parts caster, technically. It's got like different ear bodies and necks. And then my friend Ren made these really great pickups that I thoroughly recommend.
Nice.
Seems like a video.